Okay, so I feel the action and the concept of saying I'm sorry is something that is highly overlooked and highly undervalued. So I feel like it receives, what does relieve a lot of things, but I believe it receives, little appreciation. And speaking of appreciation, I'm thankful for everybody who took the time to watch this. And from the YouTube short, I'm thankful you guys follow the thumbnail. And I truly believe this truth. As I said, this truth is something that can improve a person's lifestyle. Like a person's surrounding, their inner being, their inner soul, everything. I truly believe that. I mean, it did for me. It really did for me. For many reasons, as I'm going to point out. I got my little trusty, notebook out for this one, just so I can cover everything. I don't want to get too lost, but I don't want to make this too long of a video because I can really I can kind of be a little long-winded sometimes. But this is kind of like a intricate, concept, intricate topic. Like a lot of like related parts that are, that offer a lot of detail. That can be a little complex but beautiful too to understand. So I feel like I could go on for days, but I won't for sure. Who got days to talk about this type of stuff. But I was thinking though, I think I will make like a part two though because there's a lot to cover for real. There's a lot to cover. So just quickly, saying sorry, I feel is implied as like an admission of guilt. You know what I mean? Like I think most people they assume when someone says they're sorry, they're like, "Oh, I got them," or they're like, "Oh, I knew they were guilty. I knew that they were in the wrong." I feel like a lot of people automatically assume that, and they just like that's what they imply, or even if they're not fully saying it, it's kind of like you. If they're not fully saying it, it's like they kind of give off a body language of that. Like I don't know how many times I said I was sorry. Really meant it. Oh, that's another thing. I'm not talking about like an empty sorry, a sorry where it's just like a repetitive, like it's just like a gesture. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about like a genuine, heartfelt sorry. A sorry that needs to be said. Like it's gonna shift. It should, and hopefully it does. It shifts like the path a little bit. A true sorry. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, I feel like it's mainly implied as like it's an admission of guilt to say you're sorry, which is far from the truth. Like far from the truth. Like it takes a lot of strength to say you're sorry when that time comes. No matter. I mean, honestly, even especially these days, even if it's you know not even if the sorry is about something that isn't so monumental. It's not a sorry that truly hurt somebody. Any sorry isn't easy to say. It's not. It just it's something about that, which I think I'm gonna allude to a little bit later. Like I said, I'm not gonna try to make the video too long though, but I think there's a reason why I feel like it's tough for us to say we're sorry. So yeah, so like I said, many people do portray that. They make it seem like, oh, when you say sorry, so it's an admission of guilt. That's not true whatsoever. I feel like there's many, and I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure many people feel this way. I've heard people talk about this too in their own, version. But I feel like saying you're sorry when it needs to be said, like that builds a lot of it builds so many qualities that come from like your inner power because you can't build or produce those qualities unless you're kind of like feeding your inner power, because it takes a lot of strength, so it's like you're feeding your inner power, your very soul, like it's so I feel like all that when you start feeding that, you start producing many different qualities, like for example, confidence. You start feeling truly confident to say when you start saying sorry, when you really mean it, you start producing true confidence because again, it's not easy to say you're sorry whatsoever. So if you start doing something that is tough, that's gonna make you that's gonna produce true confidence. That's not gonna produce that, the bravado, the fake confidence. That's gonna produce true confidence because again, it's not easy to say you're sorry. And then like self-esteem, like how you feel about yourself. You're gonna start respecting yourself because you're doing something that isn't easy. You're doing something again that's very tough. So you're gonna start truly respecting yourself because you're like, dang, okay, like man, I got that in me that I didn't really truly realize I had. So like the self-esteem, it's gonna start. You're gonna start like maximizing it. You're gonna start improving it for sure. And then self-awareness, you'll be able to start telling you'll be able to start telling yourself, start thinking like, okay, there's certain things that I feel I'm not comfortable to do just yet, and there's certain things that I do feel comfortable to do just yet. Because because of saying sorry, it's gonna make you feel a certain way. So that's gonna help you start learning a bit about yourself as well. It's gonna so that's the self awareness that you're gonna start also, developing from just saying you're sorry when it needs to be said. And then faith is huge because you're gonna go out on the limb to say you're sorry, hoping you're not being judged, hoping the other person isn't looking down upon you for saying sorry, or isn't gonna spread rumors, or isn't gonna sit there and be like, oh, again, I knew he was wrong. Like I knew he was wrong. He knew he was wrong. That's why he said he was sorry. So the faith that you're gonna have in the other people, the faith that you're gonna have in the situation going correctly, like that right there is huge. The faith. So many characteristics that you can do. I guess I can name. Like, you can name. Think. I'm pretty sure you can all think of many more characteristics that can come, many more qualities that can come from just saying you're sorry when it needs to be said. So I feel like, yeah, people who assume and I guess an admission of guilt, far from the truth. So far from the truth. And where did okay. Well, good. So I covered more. But dang, this video's gonna be a little shorter than I thought. I covered more than what I, what I anticipated. Well, in fact, where am I? Dang. All right. I guess I did more. Okay, and of course, saying you're sorry is obviously gonna, it's gonna bridge that gap. It's gonna reinforce the bridge that you once had. That whatever happened, kind of like put a chink in the armor. It's gonna reinforce that. So that's also very important, obviously, because it's going to create harmony and it's going to create peace for yourself and peace for the other person and peace for the environment. So that right there, obviously, which is, I think, one of the biggest reasons why people say sorry because they want to create that peace, which is a beautiful thing. But it's like I said before, that it's just not about that. It's just not about that. It's also for you. It's like a lot of it's for you. You ask me, like it's kind of like not to sound selfish, but it's kind of mainly for you. It really is. It's covering so many different angles and it's taking care of so many different things just by saying you're sorry. So obviously the faith and then the trust. It's definitely you building trust amongst you and that other person. Because they're gonna respect you. They're gonna respect you. For saying they're like, dang man, everyone knows it's tough to say you're sorry, so they're gonna respect that. They're like, dang, all right, like, and then it's gonna help them feel more confident to say, for them to say they're sorry, for them to apologize when it needs to be said. So the trust too, that's very huge. A lot of things, man, so many things. It's crazy. And yeah, see, like I said, I want to make a part two because I could go off on like on the topic of why people don't like to say they're sorry, and yeah, like you can go deep in that as well. So I'm just gonna save that, But yes, okay. So this I feel is probably the most important reason, honestly, to say you're sorry. It's very wise. It's because it is a tool, a very effective and powerful tool in controlling one's pride. Pride. We all know what that does to a person. Like pride is, Whew, that's another video in itself. Truly. So it's like saying you're sorry is a very strong and effective, powerful tool to controlling your pride, minimizing your pride. So that I think, to be honest, is probably like the most important, and I feel like that you'll get the most out of that. You know, that's something that really needs to be identified. And really needs to be just analyze it. Analyze it and work on it and get a grip on it. Yes, sir. And one more thing, not to tickle anybody's ears here. You know what I'm saying? One more thing though. So, write a little, kind of like bunch my writing in. Okay. Where's that? Oh yes, yes. This we go. This is another. This is another thing, right? It can also be its own video, but if you find it, if you find yourself in the position, right, where you notice people don't really like to say sorry to you when you know they should, and you realize, you come to that realization, like, man, I'm saying sorry mainly like all the time because I mean it, because I know it does good for the, like I said, the environment, trying to build a bridge again, you know, and now I feel like you gotta acknowledge the qualities that it can do for yourself. So if you find yourself, in those positions where it's like, man, how come people don't ever want to apologize, to me, like for the wrongdoing that they committed. Is like, what's going on with that? Like I noticed that they apologize to other people. I noticed that no one apologizes to me. Like if you find yourself in that position, it's probably because you're a truth teller. Seriously. It's probably because, you have an innate desire to just tell the truth. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying it's at the right times and the delivery is always good, but it's probably because, most of the time, you're saying the things that people don't want to hear. So they're not trying to say they're sorry to you because again, you can go off on this topic too, but quickly, they're not trying to say sorry to you because they they don't want to make you feel right because it's making them feel wrong. So that's that's probably what's going on too. A good amount of the time, if you find yourself to be like the only one saying you're sorry, and like you say, like I said, when it's heartfelt, when you know it needs to be said, and you're saying it to everybody, and you realize like, dang, not only does my aunt doesn't say sorry, my mom doesn't say sorry, my friends don't say sorry, like no one says sorry to me. It's like that's if that's the case, then it's probably because you're one of those people who just tends to just kind of just call things for what they are. And like I said, doesn't mean that you're doing it at the right time or doing it in the right way. It's just something that you probably just naturally do, you know. So it's not. That's one thing that I feel can help a person not even take it too personal when someone doesn't say sorry to you, doesn't apologize when they know they should. It's like, well, probably because they know. So yes, that was my little more of a breakdown of the concept, the truth of saying sorry. So next time you feel the need to say sorry, think of everything good that will come from saying you're sorry. It's like so many qualities for yourself, but also the peace and harmony you're creating again, and also the example you're setting, so they can also be the type to instill and to develop the qualities that it can do for us, that it does for people. Like I said, confidence, self-esteem, faith, all that. You'll be doing that for them too, which is making everything such a much more beautiful, much more tolerable place. So yes, I appreciate again everybody who took the time to see this. I hope that it kind of can provide some type of, like I said earlier, relief, and it can. I hope it can help some things. Seriously, I think the little things definitely they amount to the big things. You know, they amount to the big things, and I don't know, something as small as that concept. I really believe can make a big difference. So, all right, vaya con Dios, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.